Welcome to Source Medicine. My name is Nikolay Ayerov, quantum security specialist and founder of Avo Peace.
And I'm Anita, medical herbalist, biomedical scientist, intuitive healer, and frequency medicine practitioner. Together, we explore what it means to remember that healing doesn't start with fixing something broken, but with listening to what is already whole.
Each week, we'll travel between the seen and the unseen, from ancient herbal wisdom, nutrition, and nervous system science, to energy work, polarity, and the quiet intelligence that moves through all of us.
Our conversations aren't prescriptions, they are invitations. We are not here to tell you what's true, but to help you feel truth in your own body.
So wherever you are, walking, driving, taking a rest, let it remind you that you are part of the medicine.
This is Source Medicine.
Welcome back to Source Medicine. Today we're talking about parasites, both in the gut, in our bodies, but also the energetic components of parasites, from how people can leach energy, or how the energetic entities and the more multidimensional stuff of how that can affect your well-being, both mentally, physically, and emotionally. Obviously, we're starting with the biological component, and we have the lovely co-host, Anita Wasik. Please
Thank you.
Introduce us into this topic of parasites. What are they? What is the biological pathogenic explanation of what a parasite is and why it matters? Because right now we're in a sea of over flooding of detoxes, parasite cleanses. So we'll get into the detox much later on, but what is a parasite?
So parasites are organisms that live and feed all another organism called host. And there are different kinds of parasites which can live in human body and on human body. So they are usually grouped to three types. One is this kind of protozoas, which are one single cellular organism. Those are, for example, Plasmodium that causes malaria, or Lamblia that causes gastrointestinal distress. Then we have a bigger, like real worm, helminids, and they are multicellular organisms. They are visible already in our eyes, and they are divided into so-called roundworms, like, for example, hookworm, and flatworms, which are tapeworms, or flukes. And we have also parasites which live on our body. Those called ectoparasites, like, for example, tick, which transmits borreliosis, babesiosis. We have fleas, we have mites, sandflies, and of course, mosquito that carries a lot of viruses and bacteria. And there are just a few examples of them. There are really thousands of different parasite types, and they differ with their life cycle, what kind of route of entrance to our body they have, and also what kind of symptoms they give, because not all parasites will give the same symptoms. It depends where they are located in the body. Usually people think that all parasites are in the gut. It is not true. Yes, many of them prefer the gut and digestive system because they thrive on nutrients and, for example, the bile. But many parasites actually travel inside the body, and they locate in different organs. They can even locate in our eyes, in the uterus, in the ovaries, causing different kinds of symptoms. The most common symptoms are, of course, the gastrointestinal symptoms like nausea, diarrhea, chronic constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, but also symptoms like fatigue, weakness, nutritional deficiency, especially iron and B12 vitamin, joint muscle pain, breathing difficulties, even asthma-like symptoms, weight loss, sometimes weight gain, hunger, night sweats, grinding teeth, especially at night, and of course, itching anus, especially in children when they sleep and they move quite a lot in the bed. They sleep not so peacefully. One can already suspect the parasites.
How does one get parasites? Like, what is the easiest way to essentially be infested?
Well, the easiest is the contaminated food and water. So unwashed vegetables, water that is not purified from unknown sources. Even sometimes bottled water may have parasites. And in different countries, in, for example, restaurant, they offer bottled water, which is not closed. Yeah, the cork is not closed, so that you already could suspect that maybe that was a tap water and not actually the real bottled water. Another way is the soil. When you do garden work, for example, there's a lot of parasitic eggs so that you can even breathe in. And of course, sexual intercourse as well, eating raw and undercooked meat and fish. Those are the main sources of parasite infection.
And even like any kind of bodily interaction with people. Obviously, you mentioned sexual intercourse, but like for example, kissing or any kind of even potential breathing in someone's space. Is that like is it airborne or would it be
It's more
more
like oral.
biological?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more oral route. So yeah, you may kiss, but the parasites, like the real parasites, will not live just in the mouth.
Yeah.
They will live somewhere deeper. So mostly here we talk about the bacterial exchange or some viruses exchange.
Microbiome. So what do you feel is the most important thing? Because obviously, you mentioned a lot of fancy names scientifically around what, different multicell organisms are to the ones that are invisible to the ones that are visible. How do you see, like from your profession, what has been the most challenging thing around parasites and why it's so important to be at least aware of them? And what is the number one recommendation you say to your clients, for example, in as far as what's important to know about parasites and when is actions needed where otherwise letting the body do what it does?
The most tricky part is actually to diagnose parasitic infection. There are many tests like stool tests, blood tests, imaging techniques. None of them is perfect. For example, with the stool, you can search for eggs, for larvae. You can search also using PCR-based techniques for DNA of that parasite or even antigen tests to look for parasites in the stool, in the blood, antibody, high level of especially white cells like eosinophils may indicate parasitic infection. Some imaging techniques may recognize bigger parasites, but you need very specialized eye for that. The point is that none of this technique is perfect and only few percentage of parasitic infections are diagnosed with those methods. Why? Because over the thousands and thousands of years, parasites develop very good mechanisms of hiding from our immune system and also from being recognized. Quite often, they may even not give for a long period of time symptoms until the moment when the person develops some more serious and chronic health problem. From, for example, stool, it's very difficult to find out the eggs there. Why? Because only a small piece of stool is tested, and we have like few meters of the small intestine and or more than meter of the big intestine. You also need very precise way of looking at this. So specialized. Quite often, basic laboratories that diagnose humans are not so specialized in recognizing the parasitic infection. Veterinary laboratories are more specialized in that. So sometimes people send their own stool to veterinary laboratories because there's much bigger percentage of chance that they may find out the infection. What I use in my practice is actually medical history of the person. You look at the symptoms, the pattern of that symptoms, when they started, are they changing or are they constant every single day or not? And of course, on the top, you can have this laboratory test, but it's not something I only focus on. So when you have a specific pattern of symptoms, and you know that the person maybe travel to some exotic countries, they were drinking water from unknown sources, they have animals at home, or they were in contact with animals, and then after that, the symptoms started to be present, of course, you have to take parasites as one of the possible root cause of those symptoms. And you ask about this negative like effect on our bodies. Actually, the science shows also the positive effect on parasites on our bodies, and I want to mention that both, because the negative health effect of parasites is well known and studied. Yes, number one is a nutrient depletion. Parasites, especially like hookworms and ascariasis, that it's known to cause also asthma symptoms, are drinking the blood. That may lead to anemia, weight loss, poor growth in children. Of course, the parasites will, some of them produce specific enzymes that may lead to tissue necrosis. That means a tissue death, for example, causing ulcers, like stomach ulcers. They can mechanically and directly damage the tissue, like hookworm can damage intestinal villi. They can cause allergic responses. Again, as I mentioned, this Ascaris parasite, because it can cause so-called eosinophilic pneumonia. If there's too much of parasites, they will cause obstruction in the organ, for example, in the gut. They may cause inflammation. And when prolonged in our body, not recognized, not treated, they are known to cause also different malignancies. And this is interesting because in some Asian countries where there's huge amount of people who experience liver fluke, in these same countries, there is increasing number of people with bile duct carcinoma. So they will link this fluke to the bile duct cancer, and actually nowadays the liver fluke is type 1 cancerogen, biological cancerogen. Oh. So those are absolutely the negative side effects. Some parasites will cause direct neurological effects, because we have to remember that parasites are live organisms. They have their own metabolism. So that means that they also excrete a lot of toxins. They excrete to our body, and our liver has to take care of them and purify not only toxins that our body creates or we get from our environment, but also toxins that are produced by those little animals in our body. There are studies, as I mentioned, that show the positive effect on parasites, but this is very complex data and still under huge investigation. Some studies show that parasites regulate our immune system, to kind of teach our immune system so we wouldn't get allergies or autoimmune disorders. Some studies were also done on animals that show that special kind of parasites may prevent or even help treating different kinds of diseases like Crohn, like ulcerative colitis or multiple sclerosis. There are also parasites, and the molecules that they produce may also be used as some kind of type of medication. But we have to, again, remember that most of the studies shows negative physiological effect on parasites, and only few studies show something positive. And again, this data is very mixed and must be evaluated.
So let's like shift into like a little bit of understanding about like your personal journey with parasites, right? How has that evolved? Because obviously we've listened to your story, and if you haven't, the episode 1 speaks about Anita's story. You had significant challenges with your health in your life, and obviously you've developed into this profession partly because of this, but also because of a passion for biology. So how have you experienced your journey with parasites, and how has it evolved as you developed in your practice and then also in different forms of understanding?
Definitely evolved. because at the beginning, I was thinking only negatively about the parasites. For me, when I got the liver fluke, and it was undiagnosed for quite a long time, because again, these diagnostic tests are not perfect. When I finally knew that parasites are there, and how I got to know even because of more alternative ways of diagnostic, like for example, bioresonance. And I strongly believe in that. I know that it's not recognized as the diagnostic tool and not approved, but many countries, like for example, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, are allowing this method to be used as a part of alternative way of treatment and are strongly recognized by naturopaths in those countries. My journey started with fighting with the parasites. And that time I was not aware, because I was still in this, let's say, academic medicine. I was not aware even how to properly do parasite cleansing. So I believe that partially I also did a bit of harm to myself that time, because I was not aware. None of the medical school will teach you that you have to prepare your body actually to even flush those parasites. You have to prepare your liver, your kidneys. You have to make sure that your lymph is not stagnant, that it moves. You have to move, you have to sweat. And only then you can start addressing parasites. And you just don't do it by taking medicine or taking herbs, but you have to know what to take together with that to not let the toxins from the dying pathogen be absorbed back to your body. We think that when we kill parasite, it's just dying and it will be flushed away to the toilet, the next morning. No, the parasite will die. It will probably break also. And what's happening? Another parasite can come out of this bigger parasite, because we have to remember that the parasite has also its own parasites. And the other can also have another, and there can be like 5-6 layers of parasites. So if we kill a big parasite, massive amount of small parasites can be released to our system. Not only parasites, but also viruses, bacteria, fungi, and heavy metals and other toxins. I quite often see people who take like synthetic drugs or herbs, which I also want to mention here shortly, but they take it and they forget of preparation before that cleans, and they forget about the fact that they have to bind those toxins. So they have to use some binders, and they end up with more problems, more, let's say, more even advanced problems and longer recovery period. And I'm still fan of this cleansing, because I believe that we need to keep balance in the body. We cannot live fully without parasites. I believe we all have them. Some people don't have symptoms, probably because the immune system is good enough to keep a balance in the amount of those parasites. Because some parasites also live in symbiosis with another organism in our body. So, this terrain is still very unrecognized, I would say, and still under investigation. Okay, we cleanse these parasites, and there was time that I was only focusing on that. I didn't touch any other layer of the parasites. I was only taking herbs. There are plenty of herbs that one can use, like wormwood, sweet wormwood, black walnut, garlic, fennel, and so on. But there was a moment when I realized that actually parasites are not only in the body to harm us, but also to some extent protect us or support us. I know it sounds funny for many people and it's very controversial. I'm just saying what I experience and how I see it. And it's something what I experience is absolutely related to emotional and energetic, let's say, status of the person, because I see the same patterns in my clients, in people I know. So people who attend to get parasites of course, at the physical level, they may deal with problems like low stomach acid, poor bile flow, so the parasites are, let's say, more tend to colonize their body. But at the emotional level, mostly parasites in big, let's say, number are present in people who have a problem to set the boundaries, who feel really bad to say no, even they feel, oh, I don't want to do something, but still they will do something to maybe please somebody, or they feel bad to say just no. They are people who maybe they grow up under some influence of a person who has more, let's say, controlling type of character. And maybe there are people who feel that if they will do and please other people, they will receive respect, they will receive love. When I see from the physical, let's say, examination, from the taking care history and the symptom pattern, I already know that the person has parasite. I start to question the emotional, let's say, status of that person. To be able to remove the parasites, you don't only take herbs, you don't only clean your diet, which is also very important. You like low sugar during the parasite cleansing must be, but you have to also look at your emotions, at patterns of your behavior and emotions, and recognize those patterns and address that. Until you won't do that, you may try 100 cleansing and still the parasites will return. Because there is something I also want to say. I also believe that some parasites are there to actually help us to digest the emotions. And I don't know if you would like to share, but we experienced that working together. So would you like to mention
I mean,
that, or?
yeah, I'll kind of explain the aspect around the concept, and then you can explain the story that we experienced. Where we spoke in the last episode about how we digest emotions. So we have to consciously be able to be aware of these emotions and then start at least acknowledging them and then feeling them, because there's multiple levels of feeling first safe. It's like you have to prepare essentially your body, just like a physical detox. You have to prepare your body emotionally and physically to actually go through a emotional detox, right? And through this whole process, most of us are not aware of what's happening emotionally. That means our body has to take on that same load, not just physically detoxing with the liver, with the stomach, with the organs, with the skin, but also on an energetic level of your body starts metabolizing certain things that you weren't going to metabolize. So a lot of times you can start experiencing weight gain because your body is starting to push out specific toxins or emotions out away from your organs. So that would be in your midsection, it would be in your legs, it would be in, all the typical areas that fat would accumulate. But at the same time, the emotional components of certain things like the fungus, the bacteria, all of these organisms, they're not just eating what you're eating, they're also feeding off of specific energetic emotions like the angers, the fears, the frustration, and it's also trying to manage that. I don't know how scientifically proven it has been yet, but like for example, candida growth or fungal growth or anything like that can be linked to specific emotional patterns that have gone unnoticed. But at the same time, I also believe there is, like you were saying, when you have an energetic resonance to specific patterns like lack of boundaries or self-destruction or anything that you're self-sabotaging yourself in any way, you're actually opening yourself up to resonate with getting specific parasites or specific viruses or anything of a pathogenic state, because your body will not accept anything it's not in resonance with. Two people can have similar exposure, and then they can have different resonance bases of what their body will accept and what it doesn't accept. And the one that does not resonate with, let's just say, a specific virus or a specific infection or even parasite, that will be metabolized fairly quickly through the system, even if it's ingested. And for the most part, either it'll be processed out or it won't have any basically connection point. It's the same way of you not being bothered by what someone has to say, right? Where someone else might be very bothered by that same statement. This is a little bit of a different approach on how you can, because a lot of people want to know how you can shield yourself from potentially getting parasites. Because it's one thing to clean yourself, but if you constantly keep on getting re-exposed, then there is a root cause on how to potentially close yourself off, not to just reacting from certain situations, but also biologically protecting yourself. Like even, for example, STDs, those they're, I'm not versed in their very specific ways of what each STD is connected to on a bioresonance level, but I know for a fact that if you don't resonate with a specific, let's just say, virus or a specific pathogen, it's very unlikely that you will even cross paths with either a person or a situation that will transmit that to you in any way. That's how reality works. You have to mirror to some degree. Something within you has to be a match to whatever you want. Doesn't matter if it's abundance, doesn't matter if it's a virus, doesn't matter if it's a parasite, doesn't matter if it's an experience. Everything is has a resonance base.
I totally
And
agree with you because I can
yeah,
tell two examples. One was with this exactly liver fluke, which I got. I
yeah,
was sharing that food with another person. We were eating
yeah,
exactly the same from the
yeah,
same plate. And still, I got the fluke. The other person didn't get. And
yeah,
then during a study time, when I went with friends and we bought really big pizza and we shared that pizza, one of them got really ill, got food poisoning, but we were eating absolutely the same
exactly.
pizza. Of course, somebody
Yeah,
can say, yeah, it was just this piece of pizza. For me, hard to
exactly.
believe. Like,
Yeah,
usually it's the whole food which is
exactly.
spoiled. But that exactly tells about
Yeah,
what you said about the resonancing with that pathogen and
yeah,
even taking it or not taking it. And another is the energetic aspect in general of
yeah.
parasites. Did you ever experience like being energy drained around some people? Because yes, I did experience that. Some people who I know were also telling me they met somebody and suddenly they lost energy or they felt like their stomach is shrinked, they don't feel well, they got headache. So can you explain that? Can that be a sign of some kind of energetic parasite? What energetic parasite means, how to recognize it?
So in this instance, it can be very multidimensional because there's multiple layers to how energy functions as well. Not just like biology has multiple pathways and multiple ways of expressing itself through gene expression, through stem cells, through all the different pathways. With energy, especially with when you're interacting with another nervous system, like a person, there's multi layers to a human. There's the physical, there's the mental, there's the emotional, there's the spiritual, and then there's auric levels, there's everything. We're gonna get too complex into that topic, but essentially what is being expressed, let's just say with the term energetic vampire, right? Someone that is around you and they are taking energy from you, right? Whatever is going on within their system, they're saying, I need to extract something from somebody so I can feel whole within myself. And typically the other person is resonating into, I want to constantly give. So it's the same concept between the narcissist and the abusee dynamic, right? Where one gives, one takes. It's the same thing in a parasitic dynamic. Any parasitic dynamic is somebody's taking and somebody's giving, right? Something is feeding off of something to survive or to sustain itself. So when we get into relational dynamics with, friendships, partnerships, family ships, everything comes to the point of what are you allowing in yourself? How are your boundaries? How are you, first of all, perceive what perceptions do you have within yourself around do I need approval? Do I need acceptance? Do I feel worthy? Do I need to feel seen? Do I need to feel loved? Whatever you're saying within yourself, you're projecting, and the other person is also communicating and saying, yes, I will mirror you in some way. And typically, even if it's in a very harsh way, it's all love at the end of the day, because what that means is on a higher level, we're just helping each other see certain patterns within ourselves. On a human level, it can seem aggressive, it can seem very harsh, it can be emotionally draining, it can be very harmful as well physically. So, on a human level, the experiences are difficult. On a higher level of understanding, on a soul level of understanding, everything is a learning experience meant to move us forward. With energetic vampires, it's simply just someone's plugging into your energy, like let's just think of yourself as like a battery pack, and someone just plugged in a USB cord into you and starts draining your battery, but filling their battery. This is the same thing as a parasite taking out nutrients that your body needs to function, but then you keep replacing those nutrients, but at the same time, this also goes down. There's also another situation where there's certain pathways that are actually blocked within you on a biological level where you can't even receive nutrients, even if you're getting them, right? It's the same thing energetically. So energetically, when you are, let's just say you have life force energy going out, this is how like the Heart Math Institute shows the toroidal field of the heart. It goes up and then it comes back into the perineum and then it goes up again and it's just a constant cycle. But for some people, it just goes out, right? And it doesn't actually come back in. And that's basically a stop in force. And that a lot of times those people need to recharge more because they're not the fountain is essentially running out at a certain point and the energy goes down and then it has to replenish itself. People that are feeling drained, that's where boundaries come in of in my life, what I've done in the last year, 2 years, if I'm not excited to be around somebody or if I don't feel joy by being around them, I don't feel because there's a self-worth aspect that comes into play of saying, first, what am I bringing to the relationship, right? If somebody's around me, what are they getting? Understanding that aspect, how you make them feel, the direction that they may get, the emotions they may feel, the space they feel may feel held in. All of these things, they don't have to be physically giving somebody something, but understanding the value of your presence and the value of your being and the value of your personality and everything that comes with it comes with understanding who you are and what you're offering. This doesn't even have to be a business sense or anything. You just understanding who are you and what are you giving. So when you come across somebody else, you automatically understand, okay, hey, they're giving something else. What are they giving in return, essentially, in that sense? If you're feeling joy, that means there is an exchange, right? If you're feeling some kind of a happier emotion, there or a lighter emotion, that means there's an exchange that's happening. But if you feel drained, that means you gave more than you received. More was taken out with you than you felt replenished by. Human interaction, I think, is a little bit more fine than, let's just say, tracking down what parasite is in your system and having to stool test and all of the diagnosis, and that's a whole zoo. But your feelings are the easiest barometer for the test of how do I feel around a person. If I don't feel good at the end, ask why and start inquiring all these questions. You can, talk to somebody else if you need feedback. Everyone uses AI nowadays to get a therapy session. This is, I think, a very important discernment tactic of how energy works. And then we can also get into the concept of multidimensional parasites and how it actually connects to physical parasites
Can you
in my
explain
work.
what are the multidimensional parasites?
So in my work, I've actually started, I think, with parasite, like energetic parasites. And what an energetic parasite is essentially an energetic life form or a consciousness that needs sustenance in forms of some form of emotions. Most of these parasites are in the fourth dimensional space, where it's basically there's the third dimension that we live in. The fourth dimension is basically the astral space, where it's time goes back and forth, where in 3D time goes forward. So a lot of these dimensions can be kind of connected to time, where in the fifth dimension, time goes back, forth, left, right. So there's more dimensions on how time operates in these different realms. In this astral space, there's higher astral, lower astral space. And some people can call that in the more religious sense, heaven and hell. Essentially, this astral space is where many people will say in the lower astral space, demons can live or lower vibrational beings, and those typically feed off of lower vibrational emotions. They need anger, they need frustration. They like that. That's basically their nutrients, their life force. The higher dimensional beings don't need anything. That's more unconditional love, and the unconditional love is self-replenishing. So when you're in a higher vibrational state, you don't need anything from anybody. You help because you feel whole within yourself. When you are in the lower vibrational space, it's all about hunger, survival, and to keep the vehicle moving, right? Because it's just like you need food to eat, they need emotions to function in their own specific way. When you're resonating with a specific biological, let's just say a virus or a biological parasite, that actually opens up some form of a portal in your energetic field. And that portal is an access way to basically be hooked into by these, like if you're always stressed, if you're always fearful, if you're always in some kind of a state of crisis, you're resonating with that emotion, and that resonance opens you up essentially to be accessed by that frequency bandwidth. When you're higher, it resonates that you cannot be accessed because you can't be matched. You only give, and then most people do this unconsciously because nobody knows until you know. But when you do become aware of it, that's where you can start being aware of cords that people place on you from, different emotions, different things, how people hook into you. Just like there's hookworms, there's people that will hook with a comment, a statement, a thought form, an expression. Even when someone thinks about you harshly, that could be a psychic attack that you can feel eventually. And that can also drain your energy. If when you get into the multidimensional understanding of things, there's a whole different practice and understanding of how to maintain your sovereignty. And bridging that with the physical dynamic, you can get a parasite cleanse, but if that emotion is still, let's just say, present in you, that's basically just an open door to either re-ingest that same parasite or some other pathway to come in and still continue the cycle. Is this why people have relapses? If a cancer will come back, not because really anything, yes, it could be some biological factors. Typically, it's from stress. Typically, it's from not resolving the root cause of an issue. And I truly believe energetic medicine is the future of human well-being, because when we understand the human body as energy plus physicality, then we start addressing the root causes of specific openings that allow specific physical ailments to happen. Because if we just focus on the physical ailments and the physical drains, then we can get very good at diagnosing, at treating, at preventing symptoms. But realistically speaking, what the soul wants and what the growth of your body and your mission wants is to close specific cycles and lessons that you've come here to close. That's the only thing that really ever matters to your soul. How evolved can I become in this life? How good of a person you are, that's a great measure. How much you were able to serve in whatever you came here to do, that's a great measure. But the health metrics are only useful for keeping the mission going strong. That was a tangent there, but I feel that explained it in as basic of a term as I can explain it to not get too overwhelming for most people.
But you are the expert in that, so you know also how to protect yourself from those parasites. You already mentioned that, but is there some kind of, let's say, quick method of preventing those energetic parasites to, let's say, hold on us?
The greatest defense is closing the root cause. There are temporary shieldings that you can do for yourself, asking, the angels to surround you with white light and all this stuff. to give you the buffer to get to the root causes, because the root causes can take some time sometimes to fully address and get out of your system. It's kind of like creating like a buffer layer for like almost like closing the seal of the hole that's opened, which is the root cause. That's not a permanent solution. That's like a band-aid that's saying, I'll give you some time. But giving you some time does not fix the problem. The energetic solutions of help asking your angels, asking your guides to create temporary solutions for you that to relieve potential symptoms or relieve any reinfiltrations into your system, that is temporary, but the root is always what's the trauma, what's the wound, what's the pattern that wants to close. That's the greatest defense. You can do all the fancy quantum protections, and they are functional, but they're temporary. And the whole point of sovereignty is to not need to be shielded. That's the whole point of security, at least in quantum security. You don't want to be always in war mode or always in defense. You always you at a certain point of a level of peace and basically indifference to everything around, you become immune. When there is nothing to plug into, well, nothing can affect you. So the whole point is what is still left to plug into you, and what wounds and what patterns do you have that first might not allowing things to flow into your life, be it money, be it health, be it resources of whatever capacity, be it love, be it connection, be it relationships. All of these things are first the patterns that are running within you, two, the love that you give yourself, or you allow within yourself at all times, because love is essentially the essence of this whole thing, the whole purpose of reminding that you are this ethereal force, not a romantic emotion, not a hormone that's creating attachment. Love is just an energy force. It's essentially it's no different than God. Love and God is synonymous. It's an infinite source that can shift, it can change all the things, and you're basically here to remember that you are that source at the end of the day. You are that, the image of the creator in its own individualized fractal state that is remembering through a very heavy layer of learning.
That means you are
So
also the source medicine. You are the
exactly,
medicine for yourself.
exactly.
If you
So
just know
so
all the root causes, all the layers, and you
yeah,
combine this work. And look, this parasite topic is, as you know, very
yeah.
close to my heart, because this is something I experience and many of my clients are experiencing. But what I can say that it's absolutely possible to that they get rid of those physical parasites and not let them to come back by not only addressing the physical parasite, because anyway they will come back, yeah, at some point.
Tell us the story of how remember you went into my gut at one point. Tell us the story of how you saw the
Oh,
parasites within my gut interacting. And
that
like
was
I remember
interesting. That was
it was very
interesting because I
interesting.
was
Yeah.
this was the first time I saw parasites at more emotional and energetic level, and not
Yeah.
just physical. So when we did a session for you, when I
Yeah.
went into your energy field, I absolutely saw, I think there was a tapeworm in you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like publicly telling what was in you.
Okay, we're open we're opening vulnerability here.
Yes. And there were also fungi. And at some point, I really thought, oh, I know already what to give to this guy. Like, what
Yeah.
herbal mixture I want to give you. I knew it, you wouldn't take. The moment I saw them, I immediately felt peace and love and help. Help that they want to give you so you could process better emotions or some emotional patterns that you were
Yeah.
dealing with at that particular moment.
Yeah.
And that was a big change for me. Few weeks later, we did the same for me. And I really saw parasites in me. And again, with the wish to help me at the emotional level. We are talking only about the emotional level here, not
Yeah.
energetic, not a physical. So I realized that moment that there were two things, that even they really help us to digest this emotion and collect them so the emotion wouldn't get stuck somewhere in the body causing much more harm, or they are showing us some emotional pattern that we can finally address. This was absolutely fantastic experience.
There's an agreement. Sorry to interrupt you, but I feel it's important to mention when you align, let's say, when you resonate with a specific parasite, it's basically saying, hey, I'm a biological organism with a consciousness that wants to survive. That means I need specific fuel. You have that fuel, and you also have issues. Maybe I can help you with those issues. So, to some degree, there is a symbiosis, I believe, with
Yeah,
parasites
at
and
the
with humans
emotional, yes.
at the emotional, even to some degree on a physical level. Obviously, if it
Mhm,
becomes too
mhm,
much, then
mhm.
anything too much becomes a problem. Too much water, too much anything. But when there is an imbalance of the quality, the amount of parasites, that means they'll be taking more than they're giving back. But I think in the parasitic relationships can be argued, let's just say, not a fact, but it's an interesting thought form to believe that parasites or even viruses or something can be helping you either bring you to awareness of a specific
Mhm.
issue or help you start metabolizing certain things because parasites do eat things, they do consume things, and they do process in their own way as well.
They are
And
also in natural medicine, there are also
yeah,
theories, and even it's done in practice
exactly.
already, where they teach that special kind of pathogen is responsible for healing of special kinds of
Exactly.
illness.
So it's
So
the
I
same thing
thought,
I think of using venom to like, poisons to heal in a very specific way in a very specific dose. So I think parasites in a very specific dose in a very specific balance can help you function like process specific emotions in ways that you're not consciously ready to do. Basically, the whole point of it is if decades go by and you have constantly built up emotions, just because you're not dealing with it doesn't mean your body isn't constantly trying to process it or something within you is trying to process it. It's the same thing where when people are very skinny to when people gain weight very easily, the people that gain weight very easily are the ones that are always feeling emotions but don't know what to do with them. So that the emotions have to go somewhere. And then the people that are very skinny most of the time, they completely are locked off the feeling. So they're numb essentially most of the time. And they don't feel, so the emotions are just locked away and they're never expressed as fat, as this. And that causes obviously its own organ issues. Just because you're skinny doesn't mean you're necessarily healthy. But at the same time, also, when you do have an excessive amount of weight, that's also not necessarily a healthy thing. Everything is very emotional based as well. And the whole point that I believe of this podcast and what we're doing is we're bridging science and God and bringing those together. Nature is source, right? Mother Nature, every single medicine, if you go to like the Amazon forest, there's a good chance you'll find 1,000 different recipes to heal every specific thing that you need within your body, whatever parasite, whatever ailment, whatever, it's all available. And all pharmaceuticals are, extracted from that specific medicine,
that's
right?
why
And in a very diluted form.
pharmacy
Exactly.
started. They were just
Exactly.
extracts of
Exactly.
plants, animals, and mineral
Exactly.
stones. Of course, later with the technology, they start to synthesize that and patent.
Yeah.
But originally, the medicine comes from nature,
Yeah, comes from the source, right?
the source.
What kind of intelligence says that the planet will have every medicine you need for not just the animals, not just for the bugs, not just for the plant kingdom, but for the humans as well, right? For
Mhm.
everybody that lives on this, everything is available in some way, in some form, and every ailment that you know or you don't know. So
Mhm.
clearly there is a deep intelligence behind everything. Just if you look at the genetic sequence of our code and that most of our DNA is not even operating as far as like what the capacity that we're here to fulfill and everything. There's such an intelligence behind everything that's moving forward, not just in our physical biological structure, but in the earth that we live on and ecosystem of the solar system and the sun and the planets and the, beyond. All of that is functioning somehow in a co-creative state. And for me, it's mind blowing to believe that nothing can be the creator of that.
Whatever we talk at, let's say, all layers, physical, emotional,
Sure.
energetic layers. And that's the parasites are also, or the parasitic infection has also to do with all the three layers. Cleansing with herbs by preparing the body for cleanse, taking binders and so on, without addressing emotions, emotional patterns, without addressing the boundaries, and finally not feeling guilty to saying no, saying yes to yourself, and working on energetic level as well will protect you from overload of parasites, because as we discussed already, I believe we all have them to some amount. They are maybe in symbiosis with some other organisms in our body. This wasn't well studied because, again, you said they are parasites, which the name says, okay, they just take something out of you, but still at the emotional level, they may work with symbiosis with you. So we have to look at all the aspects, and anyway, I'm a good example that you can really lower the amount of parasites and be symptom free.
In this way, what we can do, we'll wrap up with a very specific meditation today. And this is about bringing awareness to any attachments that may be in your field at this time, because it's much more challenging to give you an entire parasite diagnosis, but it's very simple to have a practice of understanding how your emotional field looks like and how you can discharge that energy. And if you feel like you've taken on something from somebody, or if you feel like something is connecting to you, or you're feeling pulled in a direction that's not serving you, there is very quick energetic tools that you can use to quickly let go. And you can come back to this recording as many times as you want and kind of tune into this meditation. It's going to be brief, maybe 5 minutes. And then from there, it's going to give you a little bit more of ease in your life, or an awareness on how to let go of anything that might be holding you back so that you can live your fullest life. So let's start with taking 3 deep breaths. We're gonna breathe in for 3 seconds and breathe out for 6 seconds. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and 6 seconds out. Breathe in and breathe out. This automatically tells the body that we are safe to downregulate, to take you out of fight or flight. And I'll feel your heart space right in your center, where right in the bottom of your clavicle to the end of your rib cage. In that whole space. Feel it from the back and from the front. Many people talk about the front of the heart, but we don't talk about the back as well. And when you bring yourself to this space, feel in your body. Are you more in your head, or are you more in your legs? If you feel a buzz in your head, imagine that all of that attention pouring down into your hips and down through your legs and through the earth. Feel gravity. Feel your sit bones if you're sitting. Feel the weight of gravity on your shoulders. Feel a little heavier, like something is pushing you down. Like bring your self-awareness to gravity all around you. Imagine roots growing down from your feet, all the way down into the earth. Any thoughts, any heaviness, feel in your body, in your arms, in your legs, in your neck, in your shoulders. Just imagine it starting to drain down through your body, down through your feet, through those roots. You can see it as a heavy or a dark energy kind of going down, or just starting to feel a little lighter, like something is just being sucked out of you. That was not for you. You were just holding on to it. Now, when you bring a little clarity to your system and just letting go of your overactivity in the mind, feel any tensions in your body, in your gut, in your shoulders, in your back, anything that feels like it might be even pulling you a little bit. Maybe you may be thinking of a person at this time when you think of that. Just imagine that and just hold it in your awareness. And in this time, you can ask your higher self, which is you in a higher form, to let go of any attachments, be them cords, if they're not serving you at this time, or clear the cords if it serves you to keep the connection. So, and all those connections, if you feel and a hook on you, or if you feel like some kind of strand, if you feel it's heavy, just send it light, send it love through that connection. And if it's meant to dissolve, it will. If it's meant to just be cleared, it will. And just take a few deep breaths, allowing the unseen to just do a quick clearing of your system. If you feel to sigh, if you feel to move your arms, to stretch, however your body wants to express itself at this time, to really just move through the energy, just be with that space. And if you feel like you get too caught up in your head, just bring your awareness back into your feet. Feel your sit bones. And take a moment to also feel the love that's coming from the earth to you through your feet. Because you are held. Each and every one of you is held not just by your body, but by the earth. The earth gives us everything from air to breathe, from gravity to keep us grounded, from the sky to the water, to the land, to the trees, to the animals. Everything is available for us. So we make ourselves, through love, available to the earth as reconnecting back to the natural rhythm is the real medicine. When humans are connected to the natural rhythm of earth, everything flows on a very micro level, like in your lives, to a very macro level, like in the collective. And so if enough people reconnect back to nature, our natural cycles, their circadian rhythms, the connecting to how you connect with water, to the land, to speaking with the trees, everything has a consciousness. There is peace in that cycle, and there's regeneration in that cycle. So feel that love. Stay there as long as you need. Even when I'm done talking, we're not going to have a come back and open your eyes. We're just going to be here and be here as long as you need. Feel that love and feel how the lightness that's coming off of you. Any attachments, any parasitic energies that was once feeding on you, take the space to let them go. Once again, stay here as long as you like. This is Source Medicine, and we love you.